Joining me now is Tom Bevan, president and co-founder of RealClearPolitics, and Brian Kilmeade, Fox and Friends co-host and author of The President and the Freedom Fighter, now out in paperback. He's also the host, of course, One Nation, airing Saturdays at 8 p.m. Tom, it turns out that these GOP candidates with no experience, in many cases, are connecting with the concerns of everyday Americans in their states and districts better than the Democrats, who may be the incumbents.
Yeah, and I think they've all acquitted themselves pretty well in the debates that they've had. If you think about J.D. Vance in Ohio, you think about even Herschel Walker outperformed expectations in his debate in Georgia. Blake Masters certainly, had a strong debate performance in Arizona. And so, and you look at the Democratic candidates. The one you didn't mention in your angle, Laura, is Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin, another who is seen as a rising star in the Democratic Party. Ron Johnson is well up in the polls now there. He's leading in all of the polls, extending his lead there. And so, I think Democrats are the ones who are looking at their candidates and thinking, boy, maybe they weren't as good as we thought they were originally.
Well, Brian, Chuck Schumer was caught on a hot mic today talking about Democrats' chances in the midterms. Check this out.
It looks like the debate didn't hurt us too much in Pennsylvania as of today, so that's good. Picking up steam on that. It's hard to believe that they will go for Herschel.
Brian, he said the debate didn't hurt much in Pennsylvania. Oz is up by 3.
Right. By the way, how does he know? I mean, he's smiling. He's cheerleading. But it is interesting to catch the hot mic. No matter how experienced you are in politics, they seem to never understand the microphone is always on. Remember what he called Peter Doocy, the President of the United States, that stupid blank. But a couple of things. Just on your monologue, you nailed it in many respects. Another respect is this. There's a belief in Washington that you have to have experience as a politician to be a successful politician. I think we screwed up the job description. The job description is service. I like to execute for the people that let me there, that put me there, along with represent and do the best things in the interest of my country. Okay, and party fits in. It doesn't mean you have to spend 30 years doing it. You could be in business. You could be in medicine. You could be in sports. You could be multifaceted in terms of Herschel Walker. He's got business as well. Because he doesn't do it, they say, wow, inexperienced. Yeah, at what? Carrie Lake is one of the most impressive candidates I have seen come out of the box. She has no political experience, but 30 years doing what you do. An outstanding broadcaster. You could probably step right in. Would they say Laura Ingraham has no experience? At what? Serving your country? Doing what's best? Understanding issues? And I think that Donald Trump is really, I know he's pretty much not on the ballot, definitely, but he is kind of. When you look at Blake Masters, when you look at J.D. Vance, when you look at Herschel Walker, when you look at even Marco Rubio, he's stumping for shortly. These are a lot of candidates that people at Carrie Lake, a lot of the people didn't get behind. That Trump said, that's my pick. And they said, we're in trouble. And then little by little, these candidates ended up really proving themselves.
Well, and I think, again, the conventional wisdom, the establishment conventional wisdom is wrong again in Washington. But, Tom, the Washington Post revealed, I think, how desperate the Democrats are getting, because on Wednesday, they pumped about $6.3 million worth of ads into a trio of congressional districts in New York and New Jersey. And First Lady Jill Biden spent the afternoon in Rhode Island trying to help save a Democrat running there in a district her husband carried by almost 14 points. And then I guess he's trying to shore up Hochul in New York. They're worried about Hochul getting enough turnout in New York City. And a Politico piece tonight, Tom. This is getting very interesting.
Yeah, it's the Northeast is not looking good for the Democrats, but they've got problems everywhere. I mean, across the board. There was a story earlier this week that Democrats are pouring millions into Washington State to shore up Patty Murray against Tiffany Smiley, the Republican candidate up there, who's within striking distance. And you've seen these polls pop up. There was a poll in New Mexico that showed the governor's race there close, which was a bit shocking. So, yeah, look. I think that the general consensus is, and all the data is telling us that a Republican wave is building across the country. The generic congressional ballot, you see the movement in the Senate races, you see the movement in the House races and the governor's races. And the question is, we're still 10 days away. So how big is it going to be? Will it crest a little early and maybe not be as big as some people think? Or is it just building and will really crash on Election Day? That remains to be seen. But right now, certainly Republicans are on offense in states and districts that Democrats didn't think they were going to be playing defense. And they're up against it right now. The Democrats certainly are. Yeah,
crime, inflation, and the border aren't going to be fixed in 10 days. Brian, finally, your book, The President and the Freedom Fighters, it's out in paperback now. How does this relate, and this story relate to service and the idea that the last thing you really want is a professional politician in Washington? You want people with real-world experience to relate to what's going on now, the lives of everyday people.
Absolutely. Lincoln, we know the story, the most written about president, Frederick Douglass, born a slave. Don't tell me you have headwinds in life if this guy could be born a slave, within 7 years of freedom, be one of the most well-known and respected people in the free world because he went to Europe and established himself. But the other thing is the number 2 slot on almost every list is education. We are learning not to respect Lincoln and Douglas and American founding fathers. And the average American family, not politically oriented and not woke, is outraged by this. And this whole war on history, this is like a pushback, cold facts. And all I get from parents, I just did a signing an hour ago, is my kids don't learn any of this. I have to tell them this. I read this and refresh in order to overcome the history they're not learning in school. And I think about Youngkin talking about education. I'm thinking about those parents standing up. They're arguing for iconic figures in our past not to be torn off statues so we don't become a nation of pedestals. And I think also in the bigger picture, what your theme is, I think we're learning hibernating the way President Biden did it is not the way it's going to work, Kathy Hochul. It's not the way it's going to work, John Fetterman. The Republicans are having success. They're outworking their opponents. That is the American way.
Going out and being with,
I will go drill my message. Yeah, pro-American message.
Yeah, and going out and being with the people. People need to see the candidates.
Yeah,
you can't cocoon yourself. Brian, I'm so excited for your book in paperback because guess what? My kids are going to read it. Ryan, Tom, great to see you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.